The people are saying, well, where's Yahweh? Instead of seeking, actually looking for him, they were thinking, well, why is he not just blessing us, doing whatever we want? Because it doesn't work that way. At some point, we have to live in reality. And in reality, things work a certain way, and they don't work a certain way. Whether you like it or not is irrelevant. Whether you think it should be that way is irrelevant. It is what it is. And so we have to embrace that it doesn't work that way. The way this works is that we seek him, he talks, we listen, we do. Exodus 19, the covenant. Verse 5, he says, if you would agree to do everything that comes out of my mouth, I will take care of everything else. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he said. I mean, essentially, that's what he said. If you would trust me to do what I say, I'll take care of everything. You'll be safe, you'll be productive, you'll be fruitful in everything and all the efforts of your hands, etc. He's saying here, but you didn't do that. Why do we do the dumb things we do? Because his fear is not in us. Why did you do the things that your parents didn't want you to do? Because those are things you weren't afraid of them about. If they had put the fear of themselves into you, those are things you stopped doing. Of course, we have lost the ability to create fear in our children. Nothing we do really does anything to them. They just look at you like, okay, so what? And then they just figure out someday I'm going to lash out back at you and make you pay. They're not afraid from us, and we're not afraid of him. And I'm not talking about just a fear of harm or evil. I'm talking about a fear of, from a respect and awe point of view, that fear of disappointing. When I counsel, and I watch other people counsel, okay? As a matter of fact, I was doing a program recently by Tony Robbins, one of the best motivational guys out there, and I watched him do some counseling on a private chat that they had some leaders in, okay? And I watched him counsel, and I watched him do exactly the same thing I do, is start off by saying to the person, whatever you just said is really not the problem. It's a symptom. You have to dig down lower to find out where the problem is. If you've ever counseled with me, I've done this to every one of you. Yes, that's great, but that's not your problem. That's not the problem, and that's not the problem. And it always is going to go down to either a selfish desire or a fear and insecurity and doubt, which is causing you not to submit vertically. Everything that you struggle with ultimately will come down to your submitting or not submitting to Yahweh. The level of submission, which comes from the level of trust and belief. This is why James is saying what he says about, I will show you my actions or my belief through my actions. So submission is an action. But why would you submit? Because you believe that the one you're submitting to is one you should submit to, because you trust that doing so will bring the benefit or the outcome you're looking for. Now, if you don't think the outcome is going to be there, you may look to submit somewhere else. And then you're seeking it from somewhere else. And that's what gets them in trouble and will get you in trouble. But this is always the cause of your suffering. You want and don't have. Actually, there are verses that say that, right? You want and don't have. And that's why you suffer. Or you don't want and you know you're supposed to. And this is where we suffer. Instead of being lined up in that thought process, in that emotion with him. He wants, I want. He doesn't want, I don't want. There's no suffering. That doesn't mean things don't happen that you could think of as suffering, but there's no suffering because you're trusting that now. I'm not saying time and chance won't happen to you and things won't happen that cause some sort of suffering, pain, harm, etc., but it's not the same thing as what we're talking about here. If you're aligned with him, things are happening to you as opposed to you taking it in and saying, I'm miserable, I'm suffering, this is no good, this is not fair. That's a whole different pain. My wife and I struggle sometimes. You know what? It's always over something stupid. I don't know any couples that really fight over anything important. They just don't. If it's important, they deal with it because it's important. It's the selfishness of not being able to adjust to each other. Well, that's what's happening here. It's a marriage between the Israelites and the Creator. And the Israelites are too selfish to adjust themselves to the Creator. So the metaphor is the same as the marriage. He says, you have broken the yoke and torn the bonds. Isn't that what happens in marriages too? I'm not talking about infidelity. I'm talking about infidelity in type, emotionally, mentally, where you're not present with them. I don't mean that you're cheating. You're just not there with them. So don't think you have to be interested in somebody else necessarily. You've lost your first love, so to speak. Your interest in them has diminished. Israel here is not going in the vertical properly when they're struggling. They're seeking it everywhere but where they're supposed to. Isn't that what you do too? You go on Facebook, you call your best friend, you call this other one, and you're talking blah, 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 blah. And you're not actually talking to anybody that can actually help. The best they can do is commiserate with you and have a pity party with you. That is the best you're gonna get. Is somebody to tell you, oh, I feel so bad for you. Yes, your husband's a piece of blah, 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 all right? Or your wife or whatever. That's the best you're gonna get. Nothing useful you're gonna get. They're not gonna give you useful insight how to fix your problem. Oh, I just feel so bad for you. You know what, my husband's just as bad too, or my wife is just as, that's all you're gonna get. But you go there anyway. But this is the weightier stuff that we're trying to understand. This is all because of relationship breaching of agreement. And so how does that apply today? In both ways, our breaching our trust and our agreement with him, and the way we breach relationship agreements with each other. So friendships are broken. Marriages are broken. All kinds of relationships are broken when we do not adjust and walk in the agreement we have. And so understand, if Yahweh can forgive our breach of trust, why can't you forgive somebody else's breach of trust? Because really, when you go to, please listen to me, I'm not trying to embarrass anybody or shame them or be insulting, but when you go to your friends, instead of up the chain of command like you should for certain things that should go up, I'm not saying never go to your friends. It's like you're asking a stone or a tree to help you. Because they can't help you any more than a stone or a tree. But you don't want to go to the one who can help you because I'll be embarrassed or ashamed, or he's going to tell me to do something I don't want to do, or he's going to tell me how it's my fault and I don't want to hear that. And that's why people don't come, because they don't want to hear what they're going to get. But then you go where you're going to get basically the usefulness of it, might as well be a tree or a stone. Except that it's going to coddle you and be on your side and believe you. And shame on all of you who listen to the person who comes to you and think you actually know the whole story. So the woman is sitting there and her friend comes to her and she goes, my husband, blah, blah, blah. And you're thinking, what a piece of garbage her husband is. He's such a jerk and so mean. You have no idea what she did to bring some of that on. Israel's problem is your problem. In other words, the same problem. Not like because they did it is now your problem what they did. I mean, the same issue they're having is the one you have, which is you do not walk in agreement, in the agreements like you should with those that you should. Whether it's in the vertical with the ministry and going all through to the Father, or whether it's in the vertical within your family, the children don't listen, the parent, the wife with the husband with, all of these things have to do with our not aligning correctly. And trusting that. You know, Elder did a teaching called Trust the Process. We don't trust the process. Those of you who do, though, you've seen it works really well. I mean, I'm very proud of the few of you that have come. I'm not saying there's others of you that don't trust the process who have not come to me, but the ones who've come to me that I'm aware of, what you're doing and how you've trusted the process, I've seen tremendous things happen in your lives.